Welcome back to Invest Global. Today we're continuing on with our Launchpad altcoin ecosystem series, basically talking about all the different blockchain ecosystems in the different verticals, so all the different launchpads on each of them, whether it's Ethereum, Polygon, Polkadot, none of these things matter. We're going to be completely cross-chain about this. And so far we've talked about the Avalanche ecosystem, we've talked about Polygon ecosystem, and now we're currently covering the Cardano's ecosystem. Our previous video on the Cardano ecosystem Launchpad project was focused on CardStarter, so that's kind of their premier launchpad. Then you also have Occam5, but today we're going to be focusing on Ventup, and we're going to be going through things like their roadmap, things like the actual what the actual use cases, how they're differing from just like Occam5 and CardStarter, but also how they're differing from all the other launchpads. That's the whole point of this series. Is I saw some people like they're so focused on just Polkastarter, or they're so focused on just TrustSwap or just Dime. There's so many launchpads out there in the ecosystem, and it's kind of finding, what is the best for you personally, testing that out, doing your own research. I always have that video linked down below, how to do your own research, and that's the most important thing here whenever you're looking at an altcoin with high upside and high downside at kind of the same time, right? This is kind of the whole thing when you're early in a project. And from what I understand, Ventup actually does not have their own individual coin. Now, I could be wrong about this, but from what I understand, it's mainly just a platform, right? So a lot of these other launchpads, they actually have their individual token. And the other thing that I didn't see here, and I'd be curious what you guys think about this, and if you know something that I personally don't know, is what are their actual tier allocations. So these are all things that I've covered in past Launchpad videos. But typically, I go over, okay, what are the different tiers? Is it a guaranteed allocation? Is it a lottery allocation? How does it work? All these different things. But yeah, so anyways, let's get right into it. And also the playlist for the full series for all the different Launchpad projects we cover is linked down below in the description. Yes, so if you have any questions throughout the video, just let me know in the comments, and I'll be happy to work through it. But I did want to show you this, just their roadmap right here. So this is and that must be where I missed it, right? So their VNT Token sale, so that answered my question. Boom. The team formation here, the first Ventup concept right there in Q1, MVP launch on Ethereum. And then Q3, this is the thing, is a lot of projects do have to launch on Ethereum, like Cardano, because it's not fully released yet, right? That's the whole thing. So that's a minimum viable product whenever that's like an MVP, right? So Q3, new functionality releases, migration to Cardano, that is awesome. And then Q4 release of the Ventup 2.0, and then beta release of the VenSwap. But so maybe I'll actually have to pop up well, we can do that right now. We can just hop over onto CoinGecko, boom. Go on CoinGecko and search the actual VNT token, because I was not aware that they had. It was the VNT token, correct? 1 second. Let me pull this up. Vent. See, it's strange, yeah, because I didn't really see much about. So maybe I was right. Maybe Ventup. Yeah, I'm not seeing it on here. Maybe it's an extremely early stage, but hey, that's part of this series, guys. You guys are going through it with me. Some of these things I'm researching. Personally, I have not used Ventup. I knew about Occam5 and CardStarter. I actually made videos on them before I even did this whole series, but Ventup was new to me, but it was on that kind of picture of all the Launchpad ecosystems out there, so that's kind of like what I'm going off of, and I find it very interesting. So unlock opportunities, all these different things. So IDO, initial DEX offering Launchpad for high growth potential projects powered by the Cardano ecosystem. So they're really focused on simplicity here. So they break it down from project profile, the ratings, identity verification. So they do have KYC. That's something to understand here. Whitelisting process, and then anti-scam features. An IDO launchpad for game changers. That's awesome. So they have fixed pools here, so providing liquidity to new projects. They have mining, so rewards for liquidity providers. And then DEX is the interoperable cross-chain swaps, a new way to stay connected to projects and communities that matters most. So that's always part of sentimental analysis that I talk about, is you want to see what is the engagement of whatever project you're looking at, right? So go on the Telegram, go on the Twitter, check these things out. Definitely follow them on Twitter at Vent Finance, so you can stay up to date. And also follow us at investglobal_IO. So that's kind of interesting what's going on here. Give them a little like. Moving back over here, let's see. So strategic early investors, BlockSync, Vendetta, Spark, Digital, all really top tier investors, to be quite honest with you. Was Lotus on there? Lotus Capital is not on there. Okay. Dotus was, or Dots Capital. Tech and business partners, you have a Bridge, Chainlink, and Synapse. Yeah, so mainly they're focused on is bringing projects in for applying for the IDO. They're not really marketing their individual, they're not marketing that individual VNT token, and that's why I said, it was kind of under the radar from what I understood. But Always the biggest part of my analysis personally is reading through the white paper. And in this case, it's a really, really simple, like I said, they're focused on simplicity. It's not a massive just text document with, like most white papers are. This is more of a light paper. So let's get through this, and then we'll kind of wrap up the video here. But I thought these were all very interesting things to run through. So IDO Launchpad for high growth potential projects. The problem: new projects lack initial liquidity and fail to complete based on the value that they generate is very, very true. And that's why I think the beauty of Launchpads, the beauty of these different things is they kind of bridge that gap. I always talk about this in the beginning of this series, which was kind of the introductory video in that playlist, is, when you contrast the legacy financial system versus the new kind of blockchain financial system, like DeFi versus CeFi, right? Private sales in the centralized finance system, you have to be an accredited investor. It doesn't matter the actual knowledge you have. All it matters is if you have $1 million in net worth. And that's kind of the main problem that I see is, somebody could have worked their whole life. They could be 60 years old, worked in investment banking. Maybe they know a ton about investing, but an 18-year-old kid with a hedge fund, or not a hedge fund, what do they call that? I don't know. I don't personally have one, but some kids are growing up, where they're basically given their inheritance or whatever you want to call it. I'll think of the word here in a second. But this is a massive problem, right? This 18-year-old kid who knows absolutely nothing about investing versus someone else, it's just an unequal system. And that's the beautiful thing about blockchain and decentralization is we're bridging these gaps. And then also within the blockchain ecosystem, you saw ICOs in 2017, so initial coin offerings, versus now IDOs, basically giving projects a nice little runway or launch, so they have liquidity and they've done their due diligence, and we're not getting crappy projects like we saw in 2017 have ICOs that were these pump and dumps. Rather, IDOs are much more beneficial. So current protocol-based solutions fail to provide key aspects for a seamless launch, so unbalanced and opaque markets. So current protocols for acquiring initial liquidity lack fairness and transparency. So that is very, very true. The fairness aspect is always important. Lack of community, and then complex process. I do like how simple they lay all this out. So this is an all-in-one ecosystem for the token launch to swap. Ventup Launchpads, the ideal launchpad empowering projects to raise funds in a transparent and compliant way. And then VentSwap Exchange, decentralized exchange enabling token holders to swap in an easy, cheap, and fast manner. All right, so yeah, we talked about all that. Their offerings, the number one decentralized launchpad for the Cardano community. Simple, secure, transparent, inclusive. We already talked about that. So there are actual features here. In the Launchpad, they'll have a detailed project profile. So that's something that most projects have. They have project ratings, KYC. KYC is one of these things where it's like pretty much all Launchpads except one that I talked about, which is DeFi Drop, requires KYC, and then whitelisting process, anti-scam features, social, all of those, decentralized exchange. That's awesome. So it's not that's kind of how I guess I would see this as a bit different than Akamfi or what's the other one, Card Starter, is they have that decentralized exchange aspect, and it's not super complex, right? Like Akamfi, they do kind of make it a bit complex. Card Starter isn't that complex, but here they lay it all out really, really nicely. So I think someone coming in new to the space could see the benefits of this and then would be interested in investing. So that's kind of throughout this Launchpad ecosystem series, I'm always talking about what are the things that are the same. So for example, pretty much everything they talked about here is the same, like as far as their details on the Launchpad, but the difference is this decentralized exchange and some of these other benefits. You see the DeFi space. Here we talked about the roadmap, the founders here. So Alex Kuzman, co-founder, Lucas Mateo, all these guys are co-founders. That's pretty awesome. Stats right here. So media requests 50 plus, project IDO requests 35 plus, pre-sale oversubscriptions 150,000. So great to see here what they're building at Ventup. Again, go give them a follow here on Twitter, and let me know what Launchpad projects you would like to see covered next. I'll probably talk about Akamfi to finish out the Cardano ecosystem. If you know of any other Launchpads besides Card Starter, Akamfi, and Vent Finance, let me know in the comments down below. That's all for this video. If you enjoyed it, like, subscribe button all. Join the Telegram group, link down below. As always, invest global, and until next time.